We are doing celebrity estates, and today we're going to talk about Michael Jackson. Either way, we're just referencing this book, Trials and Errors, which is a great book if you love this estate planning stuff like we do. So we did do a previous episode on Michael Jackson and his guardianships nominations for his minors, but Michael Jackson also did a trust. We didn't talk about that yet. So what do we know about Michael Jackson's trust, Christina?
So Michael Jackson did all the right things, or so he thought. He created a will. He created a trust. He had the trust, and his will was what's called a pour-over will, which said everything in his estate is going to pour into this trust. And the trust was to be distributed 40% to his 3 children, another 40% to his mother, Catherine, and the rest earmarked for charity, so 20% to charity. However, when he thought he created the trust, or when he created the trust, it was actually never funded. So I just had that today when I was talking to a client, and I said, okay, well, let me know when you fund the trust. And he said, you keep saying fund the trust, but what do you mean? So it's the most important step. You know, when clients come to us and we create the trust and they sign it, the trust is in existence. It's amazing. It's great. But now it's up to clients and up to people to fund the trust. And that means transfer the assets into the trust. So if you have bank accounts, you have to physically go to the bank and retitle the name of the account. So if it's the Christina San Martino checking account, now it becomes the Christina San Martino Living Trust account. Or if I'm doing Medicaid planning, it's the Christina San Martino Irrevocable Trust account. And so people forget to do that. And in his case, he didn't fund the trust. And because he didn't fund the trust, like I said, he had the pour-over will, which poured everything into the trust, but he had to go through probate. And because he had to go through probate, there was a lot of fighting, and it cost more money, and more attorneys were involved, and there was much, much more issues that could have been avoided if he would have funded his trust. So not only did he spend all this money on legal fees to have these documents, he had to go and spend even more because he forgot to do what probably seems like a simple step, but is the biggest step, and that's funding it.
Yeah, and you gotta wonder, like, I'm sure he went to the best attorneys in California, wherever he was. Like, how did this happen that he didn't fund his trust?
You know, it becomes, sometimes people feel like it's a lot of work. Again, going to each financial institution and submitting, you know, a copy of the trust and having their legal department review it and then getting new checks issued. And I'm sure he was very busy, and I'm sure he didn't want to take out the time. And sometimes, you know, simply put, attorneys don't stress enough the importance of funding the trust. And so, you know, you come in, you sign, and then some attorney's like, okay, I signed, I made the trust, I'm done with you. And that's why picking the right attorney is important. Picking an attorney who's going to follow up with you, you know, after a few months and send you a letter and say, hey, it's been 3 months since, you know, you implemented your trust. Have you funded it? Do you need help funding it? You know, that makes all of the difference. And, you know, people always say, oh, I can have somebody else do it for, you know, a cheaper amount. And I would say, okay, but make sure that, you know, that attorney is going to, are they going to follow up with you like I do and make sure in 3-4 months, okay, it's funded, you did this, you know, are they going to answer your calls when you call back to say, hey, I'm at the bank and they're telling me I don't need this? Or, you know, the biggest one I get is with a revocable trust. I'm at the bank, but they're telling me I need an EIN number. What do? I don't have that in my documents. So, you know, I'm sure he paid a lot of money and had great attorneys, but they weren't following up with him. They probably had, you know, thousands of other high net worth individual clients who they had to give attention to. And so, you know, once out the door, that was it.
Yeah. And it's sad because it's work, but it's not it's not brain surgery. It's not complicated stuff. It's just that extra trip or two to the bank to fill out paperwork and get it done. And then it's done. But yeah, I mean, effectively the trust means nothing if it can't control the items, and it can't control the items if it's not named to it. So,
and we just got a comment. I don't know if you saw that. It says, good attorneys keep you on track to complete the full process. And I couldn't agree more. You know, it's the truth. You know, you kind of, that old saying is you get what you pay for. You know, sometimes you have to pay a little bit more to get a good attorney who's not about the quantity of clients they have, but the quality. So, we charge a little bit more because we have less clients, because we devote more time to the clients we have, because we don't want to just get them in and out. That's not, Leslie, I could say for Leslie too, and myself, that's not why we're here. We're not here to just turn around like a factory. The documents that we create are tailored to each individual client, what their needs are, what their wishes are, what their wants are. And so we make sure we take the time to then say, hey, we did this planning for you. Now it's your turn to make sure you did X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. I mean, the way we sell it, we explain it is, look, you could do it yourself or we could do it for you. What do you value more, your time or your money? Because if you're going to do it yourself, you value your money, you have the time, you do it. But if you don't have the time, pay me, I will do it for you. It will get done, So it's just a personal preference, but you've got to commit to this process. You're going to do a trust. You're going to take this time to do estate planning. You've got to follow through, make sure it gets done. So, very interesting story with Michael Jackson. I love these estate planning stories because the average person, I'm sure, makes these mistakes as well. I know Christina's heard of plenty of stories where someone has a trust and they're still winding up in probate because they didn't fund it.
And I always tell my story to my clients is we were the family scrambling. My really quick, Leslie, my grandfather got diagnosed with cancer, and we didn't know anything, and the house was in his name, and thank goodness we had a family friend who drew up the will and the healthcare proxy and the power of attorney, but didn't tell us that when he died we have to go through probate. So now 7 months later he dies, and I'm in law school, and I'm like, probate? I had a will. What's probate? What do you mean we have to pay you attorney X amount of dollars? We already paid you for the will. And so I learned it, and it became my area that I want to be devoted to, and I have. And so it's really, really, really important that people know about this and get out there and get their estate planning done and then follow through with it. I do advise that if you have questions about your trust, you should contact an attorney and let them review it. And I always say this all the time, that everybody's estate plan every 3 years should be reviewed, or with a major life change. So, you have a child, you lose a child, you lose a spouse, you get divorced, you have grandchildren, somebody has special needs, or even if you don't have any big life changes, but like you're saying, you have an irrevocable trust. When was it created? How many years ago? If it's more than 3 years ago, get it reviewed, because one, you want to make sure that it's up to date with the laws. The laws are always evolving. And in fact, there's been new Medicaid rules and regulations that just started as of May 16th. And there's going to be more changes coming in January of 2023. So definitely have it reviewed.
So we will see you next month with a new celebrity estate story. And thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.